Thank you for tuning into my channel. We're going to make the bow tie block today, so if you want to learn how to make a block like this, please stay tuned. For this block, I've used a layer cake, and here are a sample of the fabrics from the layer cake that I used. A layer cake is pre-cut 10-inch squares. So here are the fabrics. They're from a line by Denise Schmidt called Hadley. Okay, so since we are using a layer cake, I'm going to take some time and cut a couple of these. So I have two of the fabrics here, and my mat is really cool because there's an area that I can put a 10-inch square to make it easy. So here are two of the fabrics, and I'm just going to cut them. For our block, we need, from a colored fabric, we need two 5-inch squares and two 2.5-inch squares. So I'm going to line it up here, make sure it's lined up on the mat. And then I'm going to cut it halfway across, which is at 5 inches. This way. And then I'm going to turn the whole mat to cut it the other way. And I'm just kind of lining my ruler up with the line on the mat. And I'm also going to cut, so that's two 5-inch, and then I'm going to cut two 2.5-inch squares. Again, just lining it up on that. And I just pull that away and then turn it. For the other 2.5-inch squares. So here you can see for each block I have two 5-inch squares and two 2.5-inch squares, and you also need two of a solid square, and I'm using the Kona Snow for our solid squares. And this is the waist that you get from each one, and I'm going to be using that either in the border or in the binding. I haven't decided yet. Stop. So for the first thing that we're going to do is we'll take our 2.5-inch squares, and I've just drawn a diagonal line on each of the squares. If you have a directional fabric like this one, I'm just going to use my squares to kind of test it to make sure that the fabric is going the same direction before I draw the lines. I'm using a friction pin to draw the lines because it will go away when there's heat, and I used a permanent one before and I've made some errors. So use something that will erase just in case you need to redraw the lines. And after we've drawn these lines, what we're going to do is go to the sewing machine, and these 2.5-inch squares, we're just going to sew on the drawn line from corner to corner. I've placed this square on one corner, it doesn't matter which corner, and then I'm just going to sew on this line from end to end to create part of the block. So on these lines on all four of my pieces that I'm working with. So I'm actually going to make two blocks. I'm going to make a directional block and then the flower block. If you want to, you can just mark all of your 2.5-inch squares and then just chain piece all the way through all of the squares, depending on what you need for your quilt. Alright, so let me show you what I've done. Here is the quilt that, or the piece that I've sewn. I tried to stay on the outside, just a little bit on the outside of that, of the drawn line, and then I pressed And here is what it looks like after I've pressed it and then cut it. Okay, this one you can see is a little bit off, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. So now after we've done this step, we just we want to set up our quilt block. So the two colored points, they go to the end, and then you put one of the colored squares on either side. So here we have our block ready for sewing together. I'm going to stitch here and then go across here and press. When I press at first, I'm going to press towards the printed fabric. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that now. Okay. And then I'm using my 1/4 inch foot to get a nice 1/4 inch seam. Stitch down. And I just want to make sure that it's lined up nice and neat. So that's why it doesn't really matter if it's not perfect the first time. And then so do the same thing for the other one. So now that I have it sewn, I'm going to press it and then come back and show you. Here's our finished block. This one is directional, so you see that all of these little knobby thingies are facing the same way. Let's look at the back for a second, and you can see that all of the seams are going in the same direction. The way that we did that is by picking out the vertical seams here, and then I just push it to either side. Push each seam to the side that I want it to go to, and I'm just going to smush the middle really good. And then when I press it, it's going to lie nice and flat like this one. So again, here is our block. It's super simple and really fun. If you have any questions about it, please leave them in the comments below. Thumbs up this video, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.